Ferrari took its first step away from its road-going front-engine V12 cars with the oh-so-popular Dino, sporting a never-before-seen in a street-going prancing horse mid-engine V6. And while many people think the next evolution of the Dino was the 308 GTB, many have forgotten the car that started it all, the 308 GT4 Dino. The GT4 was the first production car to come out of the Ferrari factory with the mid-engine V8. It was introduced at the Paris Motor Show in 1973. The 308 produces 255 horsepower, so it leaves the driver with ample power to propel them down the road, while at the same time coming configured as a 2+2, or a 4-seater. So you can motor down the road happily with your wife and children in the car, all able to enjoy the Ferrari experience. While a lot of people are a bit confused by the naming of this car because it's the Ferrari 308 Dino, so is it a Dino, is it a Ferrari, is it a 308, what exactly is it? And so this car was produced between the 308 GTB and the Dino. And initially it was meant to continue in the Dino lineup. And the Dino was supposed to be kind of its own little brand. So Ferrari initially wanted the Dino 308 GT4 to be the 2+2 model to complement the Dino. However, at that time in the US, you couldn't buy the 365 Boxer or the 365 GT4. They were never built for US specifications. So all you could buy was this 308 GT4. And buyers were a bit annoyed because it didn't have the Ferrari branding. So at that time, you really couldn't buy a brand new Ferrari. It was a brand new Dino. And so over the years, Ferrari instructed a lot of their US dealers to start branding it with the Ferrari logo. So this car does say Dino on the front. It has all the Dino badging, which is how a lot of the earlier ones came out at first. However, Ferrari then had the dealers replace that with the Ferrari logo on a lot of the cars. And then by towards the end of the production of the 308 GT4, they actually came from the factory with the Ferrari badging. So over the years, that has caused a lot of confusion with enthusiasts and especially with judges at concourse because if it came from the factory with the Dino branding, it should still have that. But if it came with the Ferrari branding, it should still have that. But what do you do about the cars that Ferrari instructed their dealers to put on the badging, and so it was changed but by Ferrari's instruction, or was it replaced later by an owner down the line? So the badging on the car has changed a lot in its few years of production, but technically, if you want to kind of simplify it, the very early cars would have been branded Dino and the later ones would have been branded with Ferrari. Another little interesting thing that Ferrari did with these cars, so basically all of Ferrari's road-going cars were odd number serial number sequence, so they'd all end in an odd number. And with the race cars, they were all even number sequence. But with the Dino, starting with the original Dino, they decided to do the Dino with even numbers, just like how they did with their race cars. So with the 308 GT4 Dino, they continued having even serial numbers on the cars. But when they went to the 308 GTB, they changed it back to odd numbers. So Ferrari gets a little confusing with their numbering sequences. I mean, in general, so they kept that basic sequence of odd numbers for road-going cars and even numbers for race cars and the Dinos up until about the 75,000 serial number range, which would have been like the F40s and Testarossas right in that time frame, when they realized they were going to run out of serial numbers, so they let all the cars be odd and even. With the GT4, Ferrari decided to kind of switch things up with their design team. So for a long time, Ferrari had used Pininfarina. And with the GT4, they decided to use Bertone instead, which Pininfarina was not too pleased about the decision, but it was a nice little switch up from what they had been producing for so long. And so when Bertone came out with the design of this car, it shocked everyone. It's very wedge shaped. If you look at the Dino, it's very curvaceous and has those amazing sweepy lines, whereas the 308 GT4 is just so radically different than the look of the Dino. And it's funny because back then, some, automobile magazine people were trying to say that the car looked too much kind of like the Bertone designed Lancia Stratos or, the Countach, which, I mean, imagine trying to say you look too much like a Stratos or a Countach. In my opinion, that is a huge compliment. That's not something bad. But that wedge-shaped design became very just familiar with the name Bertone and very iconic throughout the years. So the interior of the car, first thing I want to mention is the color combination, because the red interior with the black exterior is just one of the ultimate color combinations in my opinion, but I really like how they kind of broke it up. It's not completely red, there's no lack of it. The seats, the back seat, center console, and door panels, but with the black carpet, the black dash, and then the tan headliner, I think it offsets all the red in the perfect way. So, and I like the darker red color too with the black. I love it. So driving the 308 Dino, the windshield it's very interesting because this car actually has really nice visibility. So you basically just see windshield. You don't even see the hood of the car or anything. You're just looking out in front of you, and it just gives you that almost fishbowl kind of feeling where you're just looking out at everything, which I really like because I've been in cars where the visibility is horrendous, and the Countach comes to mind, and while those are fun cars, don't get me wrong, it's not so fun when you have to change lanes. But I also have always really liked the dash layout on these because I like a simplistic dash layout, but I like how the dash and the gauges kind of come towards you. It's flat and then with angled sides, so it's kind of surrounding you in the same kind of way the windshield does, which, I mean, personal preference, I love that design. And the fact that this car is also a 4-seater is great. Now, realistically, the back seats are small. If you got long legs, or even, I'm not very tall, but even I am very squished in the back seat. I have sat in the back of these cars. It's not the most comfortable, but if you got small kids or a friend who's willing to be squished for a little while, then it's great to have the option of the back seats. I'll never get over having the engine just right behind me right there, making all those wonderful sounds. The carbureted V8. I know I've said it a million times, but it's one of my, it's everyone's favorite part about these cars. Sitting, driving, listening to that glorious sound is just awesome. And the nice thing about this car too is as a 4-seater car, you can take your family out and enjoy it as a family. Now, I did try and sit in the back of this car just to see how it would be, because it's not really made for adults. And so I did fit back there. I could sit back there. I just don't recommend it for a long drive for your average size adult because it is a bit cramped. And my friend tall man Justin, who's 6'7", he's on a trip right now, but once he gets back, I'm very curious to see if he'll fit back there. I already know the answer is going to be no, but my question is going to be how can he fit back there at all? I know if he could, he'd be horribly squished and uncomfortable, but if he can fit is kind of the question. Now, in the driver's seat, there's lots of headroom, even for taller people. There's lots of just room all around. It's just a nice kind of comfortable seat. Nice comfortable feel, nice comfortable drive. But the back seats, you know, you want small children sitting back there, not full-size adults for a long drive. But it is very comfortable. You know, I'm not saying the car isn't comfortable, just the back seats. The front is very comfortable. The front is, you know, the seats are nice. You got lots of space. I've always driven Ferraris, so the offset pedals don't really bother me. But I know some people aren't used to them, so they're offset to the right a bit. But, you know, I'm so accustomed to that it doesn't even bother me at all at this point. It's just kind of like a part of life with like how, you know, the cars I drive. But, you know, it takes a little getting used to, I guess, but not much. You know, it's pretty intuitive once you've driven it for a few minutes. So overall, like the 308 GT4, it's the perfect combo of 4-seater, 70s styling, great performance. Yeah, they're fun cars. It's interesting how there's so many differences and similarities between, I mean, you could really tell that this is the interim car between the 308 GTB and the Dino. So a lot of the things that the Dino has, such as, of course, the mid-mounted engine, but like the 308, it's an 8-cylinder. But it also has that interesting configuration where it has 2 rear deck lids. So you lift one for the engine compartment and then you lift the second one for the trunk. And so they're very separated, which is how the Dino is. However, with the 308, it's one rear deck lid and it has just a little firewall with a section for the trunk in the back. So it's not 2 separate compartments in itself, which I find interesting. And then also on this car, the valve covers do say Ferrari on it, like on the 308, whereas on the Dino, they do not say Ferrari on it. Now, even when Ferrari started badging these cars with the prancing horse instead of just the Dino, so the one thing that they left on it was the script right on the back right here where it says Dino, Dino 308 GT4, but they did change like the center caps on the wheels, the horn button, and the front emblem to the prancing horse, but they left the Dino emblem right there. I've heard people say in the past that Ferraris should be 2-seater cars designed by Pininfarina. And when I've heard that, I just think that those people must not have driven a car like this before, because while the older curvy cars are absolutely stunning, and I do love them, there's something about the wedgy Bertone cars that was the beginning of a new era, and I really love them. And the 308 GT4s they have lots of power. You know, nowadays cars with 800 horsepower and all that, but 255 horsepower back in the mid-70s for a light and nimble car like this, it gets you going real fast. And it's nice when you're driving a car and you feel like you're going really fast, even without having to break the speed limit. Whereas a lot of newer cars, you can get well past the speed limit and not even blink, not even realize you're doing it. So I love older cars for that driving experience where you really feel in tune with the car. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, learned a little bit about the 308 GT4 Dino. If you liked it, please hit subscribe and stay tuned because we got a lot more content coming very soon.